Hi everyone. Today and tomorrow is Salesforce Lightning. Today day 10. So let's see what are we going to learn today. So today agenda is we'll see the previous session review and we'll talk about the dynamic output in expression. And then we'll see how to get the checkbox value in the Aura component. And we'll talk about the conditional expression in the Aura component. How can we write the conditional expression in Aura component? What are the best practices for conditional markup? And the component get method, we'll see the component get method, component set method, and we'll talk about the JavaScript variables. What are the JavaScript variables? When to use the JavaScript variables? What are the JavaScript variable declaration rules? What are the JavaScript type conversion? And then we'll see the one converting the string to the numbers, and we'll have a conclusion, quiz, homework, and today's interview. So quickly, what did we learn last class?
Button group, button menu, menu item, button icon.
What else we have seen?
Menu subheader, menu divider, Aura set.
And
Button icon and its attributes.
yes, so we have seen lightning button icon. And then we have seen the Aura set. And we have seen the lightning menu subheader. And then we have seen the menu divider. And after that, we have seen the just introduction about the controller. Right. So this is what we have seen last class. Okay. So today, the first one which we are going to learn, dynamic output in expression. First of all, dynamic output. What is a dynamic output? So this is basically the simplest way to use the expression to output the dynamic value on the Aura component. We have already used it, this one. So value used in the expression can be from the component attribute. So this is what we were using it. For example, I have a component. In the component, if I have any logic, in the component, if I have any logic, if I wanted to print any value. So far what we have done, this is the Aura component. This is Aura component. So in the component, I have just written the logic. So here I have a logic. Assume that there is a logic is here. The logic may be the lightning input. Lightning input. The logic is here. And on top, we are declaring the attribute. Aura colon attribute. So in the attribute, we will give a name of the variable, right? So what I'm doing here basically I'm designing the UI. So this is first number, second number, third number, whatever the UI is there, I'm designing it. So whatever the user is entering here, the data, we are capturing in the Aura attribute. We are capturing in Aura attribute. Now, if I wanted to print the value here, what I'm doing, as there is an attribute which is storing the value, whatever the user has entered. So the same thing I'm displaying it in the curly braces. So v dot, whatever the name of the attribute, for example, first number. So this is what we are doing it. I'm designing it, whatever the user entered here, if we wanted to store this information, we are using the attribute. Attributes are to store the values of the user input, what are the user input has given here. And if I wanted to print the dynamic value, right? If I wanted to print the value dynamically, so we have to use merge field, curly braces, exclamation, v dot, and what are the attribute name is there, that's the attribute name. Now here v represents the view, which is a set of component attributes, which are set of component attributes. If I am referring attribute anywhere, whether it is a component, whether it is a controller, right, wherever I am referring it, everywhere we use the v dot, which is component attributes I am referring here. And the description here is the attribute of the component. Now, for example, this is the attribute. So if I'm trying to print the dynamic value of the attribute, I use the curly braces, exclamation, v dot description. But in case, instead of a attribute name, if I give a just curly braces, exclamation, double quotes, inside the double quotes, I'll print some text. So what will happen? It will just print the text. Because this is not the attribute. This is not attribute. I am printing some value. I'm printing some value. So if I enclose the value within the quotation, if I enclose the value within the quotation, what will happen? It will print as it is. It will print the value as it is. Now, not only this text, for example, if I try to use curly braces, exclamation true. For example, I'm printing the value like this. So usually if I wanted to print the value dynamically, then what I'll do, I'll just use v dot and whatever the attribute name is the description. This is, which is nothing but I'm printing the value. But same thing if I give it here in the double quotes, if I give it something in the double quotes, what it will print, it will exactly same as that. It will same as whatever the text is there here, it will print the same thing. Not only this, if I try to put curly braces, exclamation, and if I give a true, what is the output I'll get it? I'll get just a true. Right? So let me show you that. So for example, we have implemented last time Lightning requirement 1. Right? So this is what we have implemented. Now, where did we call this? We have used in the quick action. We have used in quick action. So if I go to the account, in the account, open any accounts. If I click on quick contacts. So that's how we have the value here. Now, for example, if I try to print the one dynamic value which I'm printing here, the attribute value. For example, if I print curly braces, exclamation, and I'll give some information here. Printing data. If I give this, so it will exactly print the same thing. Though it is in the merge field, but what we are doing, we are adding in the single quote. We are adding in single quote. So if I add a single quote, what will happen? It will print exactly the same. It will print exactly the same. For suppose if I say curly braces, exclamation, true. I'm not giving any single quotes. What it will give? It will just print the true. If I give curly braces, exclamation, false, these are the Boolean values. If I print true or false, what is the value that I'm going to get it? Value is true or false. So let's refresh. Click on the quick contact. And here for the true, it is just given the true. For the false, it is just giving the false. Right? So this is also in case if you wanted to test something or This is what, if we wanted to print some text on the UI, then we will use it. So whatever we use in the curly braces exclamation, those are called dynamic output, where we are printing directly on Lightning component. So last time I have given the assignment checkbox. How many members have tried it, printing the value of checkbox?
I tried it, ma'am, and I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, how about others? Did anybody tried it?
So now you got my, did you check my assignment? I did that.
Yeah. How about others?
I tried, but I was unable to do. That's why I have asked you on Monday, Swapna.
Okay. So the checkbox, for the checkbox, first of all here, why we use the Lightning input? Input is basically, we use it to accept the, whatever the user is giving the value based on the type of attribute. To capture the user input based on the type of attribute, we use the Lightning colon input. Now we have an attribute that we have discussed, type, right? Type of the input. And the label, the text label for the input, what are the label that I wanted to print it. Then we have used the value. Value specify the value of an input element. But this value works only for the text value or a date or whatever we have it. But for the checkbox, this does not work. For the checkbox, value does not work it. For the checkbox, we have to use the attribute called checked. For the checkbox, we have to use the, in Lightning input, attribute called checked. So checked is nothing but which will capture the user input, whatever, whether it is checked or not. So last time when we implemented it, we have used value here. We have used the value. Value works if it is a text, email, telephone, value is able to capture the value. But if I have a Lightning input, which is a type of checkbox, then my value does not store the value. Whatever the user is selected, it does not store it. So that's the reason last time, whenever we are keep on selecting it, like if I select this, right, I'm not getting any output here, right? Whatever is there. So value does not hold the Boolean values. Whatever the Boolean values are there, it does not hold the value there. So what we have to use is, we have to use checked. Instead of value, we have to use the attribute called checked. So if I use a checked attribute, so what will happen if I refresh? So click on a quick contacts. Now, if I select it, here is the true. If I unselect it, false. As soon as I select it, true, false. So the whatever we are using the attribute, we have to be very careful. Now, how do I know that I need to use value or checked? How do I know that? So go to the Lightning component library. Lightning component library. So, or else if you search with this, you will be able to go. Yeah, component library. So here we have a Lightning input specification. So if you go to the specification, then you will see here it's not showing anything checked. Now what I need to do, I need to change my Lightning input to checkbox. If I change to checkbox, go to the specification, find out is there anything that it will try to capture the information. Specifies whether the checkbox is checked. If you wanted to capture the Boolean value for the checkboxes, use the attribute called checked. So in the real time, we will be doing this kind of a research. Sometimes there are few requirements which we are not even aware, right? So based on the client requirement, if whatever we know, if it is not working with that, and if we wanted to implement, the first thing is that go to the component library. Go to the component library, look for what they are giving it. So here we can see all of the information. So this is Aura component, and look for whatever the component that you are looking at. Based on that, check the specifications. So we will be able to find it here because all the attribute information they have given. Okay. So if you don't know, tomorrow it might add few more attributes. So what we have to do in case if the client is coming up with a new requirement, which is we are not aware whether it is possible to implement or not. So in that case, the best place is reach out to the component library, look at their requirement. What are the requirement that they are telling it, right? So in case if they wanted the different information, right, style into the data or field level help, they want some information. So if they want the field information, field level help, then what we have to use? We have to use the field level help. So what it is giving the help text detailing the purpose of the function in the input. In case if client asks that, okay, as soon as I hover this or as soon as I come here, it should display some help text. So for the checkbox, whether it is possible to implement or not. So go ahead and check in the component library, you will be able to find out. Is that clear with the Lightning input checkbox? Any questions on this?
No, we don't have any attribute for checkbox, right?
There is an attribute for the checked. That's what I'm saying it. So the
Okay.
one, if I use it here, the problem last time is we were using here value. If I use a value will not be able to capture the output of the checkbox. If you wanted to capture the output of the checkbox, then we have to use checked instead of a value.
Okay, ma'am.
Any other question? Okay, so let's move on. Now here, conditional express in Aura component. So conditional expression, this everybody should be aware of conditional expression. So what is this? Conditional expression is how we can implement in the Lightning component using the Aura : if. We have a tag called Aura : if. By using the Aura : if, we can implement conditional expression. Right? So using the Aura : f tag, what will happen? It displays the output based on the whatever the value. If condition is true, then display something, or if the condition is false, display another value. So whatever the conditionally the bit will apply here, what will happen? It will display the output. For example, so we have a start. So this is not only the Salesforce, anywhere if you see, this is the common logic. So we have a condition here. So there is a condition, some condition will be there. So based on this condition, if the condition is true, then what will happen? It will execute the true statement. If the condition is false, so it will execute the false statement. So if it is a true, go ahead and execute this logic. If it is a false, then execute the false logic. Similarly, in Aura if Lightning component, Aura if also has the same thing. So Aura if evaluates the is true expression. We have an attribute called is true. Is true is the attribute within the Aura if. So is true is going to decide whether the condition is true or false. Whether the condition is true or false. For example, if it is true, then what will happen? It will execute the true statement. If it is a false, the condition is false, then it will execute the false statement. So here condition is nothing but this is the one. Aura if, aura colon if is true equal to, we have to give some condition. We have to give some condition. So here, whatever this box is there, right? So this box is basically aura colon if is true equal to condition. If this condition is matching, then it will execute this. Otherwise, it will execute the false. Any questions here? Conditional expression. So the syntax for the conditional expression is aura colon if is true equal to, we need to add a condition. We need to add a condition and then close the aura if. This is only for if condition. I'm just writing the if condition. So usually what we will do in generic logic. Now, for example, if A equal to, there is a value here. Text value. So what we will do in general logic, if A equal to some value, then go ahead and execute it. Execute the logic which is sits into this. Otherwise, what we will do? Else condition. Otherwise, we will do else. If A equal to, what we will give? We will give text value. Text value. If it is this, then execute the logic which is there inside the else. Execute the logic which is there in else. So this is in generic. This is a one loop. Basically one condition, if and else. Sometimes what will happen, we have a else if, else if, right? If it is a else if, execute that. If it is a else, that is also not matching. Then simply execute the by default one. So like this we will write it, right? In general. But here in Lightning, we have a just if else. There is no else if is not there. Only if this is true, execute this. If this is not true, execute this. So in Lightning Aura, how do we write the if condition in the Lightning component? We will write in the Lightning component Aura colon if is true. Is true equal to. So I'll give the condition here, A equal to some value. Okay, assume that this is. Now, if it is a true, then execute this, and curly braces ending is nothing but here I'm closing the tag. I'm closing the aura if. I'm closing the aura if. So this is the difference, how we write it in the Lightning Aura. So syntax is aura if is true and put the condition here and put the condition. For example, now yesterday last time when we were testing it, the value was not printing here. The testing value is not printing, right? Now, we tried it, but it did not work. In real time, this might happen with you also. This might happen with you also. So you wanted to test whether this particular value is storing the value or not. Whenever I check the testing checkbox, does it storing the value in this attribute or not? Does it storing the value in this attribute or not? So how can we do that? So for example, I'll say here, Aura colon if is true equal to what I'll give. I have to give the condition, whatever the condition is there here, right? Whatever the condition is there here, we are just printing the value. That's the same thing we have to give it here. Curly braces, exclamation v dot testing. Now, and now within this, I'll just print. I'll just say that true. Okay, so let's go ahead and refresh. Refresh this page. Quick contact. So for example, if I'm checking this, the true value is coming. If I'll check, it is gone, because false condition we have not added. We have added only if it is a true, execute the logic. If it is false, there is no logic. Now, sometimes what happens is, for example, you added here value. You added the value. Now, you want to test it, whether it is capturing the value in the testing attribute or not, whenever I check it. So simple way is by adding the Aura colon if. Now, if I check this, that means the attribute is not holding the value, right? If I uncheck, nothing is happening. If I check also, nothing is happening. Value does not hold the checkbox output. So if I say checked, that means it is going to print. Now, instead of testing, what I'll do is I'll add some more data here. So let's say that, are you taking any medicine? Okay, if yes, then I'm going to display a text box here. So what I'm doing, I'm conditionally displaying the text, lightning input text. Let's say medicine names, right? So this input text only visible if I say yes. If I say yes to the, are you taking any medicines? If I say yes, then only this particular text box will appear. Otherwise, it won't appear. So let's refresh this. Quick contact, are you taking medicine? If I say yes, see here, medicine name is displaying. If I uncheck, the medicine checkbox is gone. So conditionally, I'm displaying the field based on a specific field. Based on this condition, I'm displaying the text field, medicine names, right? This is how in the real time also we will be building it. Now here what I have done, only I have chosen if it is a checkbox true. If it is true, then only show this. For example, if it is a false, then I wanted to display another text box here. If it is a false, another text box I wanted to display. Now, how do we write else condition here? I have written the if condition, right? I have written the if condition, but now I wanted to write else condition, because for every conditional expression, there is always if condition and else condition. So now here in this component, I wanted to write else condition. I wanted to write else condition. So how to implement else condition? Now, have you seen Aura set? have you seen Aura set? Aura colon set. Did we discuss Aura colon set?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
For what purpose we have used it?
For the in the lightning card, we use attributes, use title or actions
Control title.
Whether
Actions.
which place we need to displace or
in the lightning card.
or in action.
Right. So title, it has the attribute title, attribute action, attribute footer. Similarly, in conditional expression, we use Aura set. For else condition, we use Aura set, but attribute equal to else. Attribute equal to else. So when I say attribute equal to else is nothing but this particular Aura set is going to implement a logic which is a else condition logic. This works as a else condition. This works as a else condition. Now same thing. So here when we true, false, it execute the true statement. If it is a false, false statement, here the condition is nothing but Aura colon if is true condition. But here set is nothing but this one. Set is nothing but Aura colon set attribute equal to else. Attribute equal to else. How do you decide whether I need to go it here? First you will check, is my condition true? If it is a not true, then do I have a Aura set attribute else? Is that implemented? Yes, it is implemented. Then go and execute the else statement. So Aura colon set attribute equal to else will decide. As soon as I mention attribute equal to else is nothing but it is going to behave like a else condition. It will perform as a else condition. So the syntax is, how do we write it? We have to write Aura set within the Aura if. Aura set within the Aura if. So Aura colon set attribute equal to else. Where am I writing? It is a within the Aura if. Within the Aura if I am writing it. Now you might ask this question. In generally, we write a if condition, and once the logic is executed, right? Once the logic is executed, then I write a else condition. This is the else condition. But why are we writing here Aura set within the else condition? Why are we writing within the else condition? Because that is how the design. So the design is you first write the if condition and mention the logic. And within the if condition, you have to use else condition. So your if condition logic is here. And below that, else condition logic is here. So your cursor, whenever you execute the code, so what happens is, first this line gets executed, okay? And then it will execute all the logic that is there inside this condition between the Aura set and the Aura is true. What are the true condition is there? You have to write it here. You should not be writing it here. No, this is not the right one. You should be writing it this line between the Aura set and is true. You have to write a logic that gets executed for the true condition. If it is a else condition, for the else condition, you have to write a logic here. For the else condition, you have to write a logic here. For the true condition, the logic should be sitting here. The logic should be sitting here. You cannot write your true condition logic here. No, this is not the right one. You have to always write the true condition logic between the Aura if and Aura set, and the else condition logic will be here. So what will happen when your cursor get executed? So when your cursor is executed, first it will execute this line. Okay, if condition is true, immediately it will go to the next line. And it goes to the next line. It goes to the next line. For example, if it is a condition is false, what will happen? It is immediately jump and look at the else condition. It doesn't look at this true condition. It doesn't look at, not even single line, it will not look. As soon as the condition is a false, then immediately it will jump whether do I have a else attribute within the Aura set. Then go ahead and execute the Aura set. So the line got executed from here. Is that clear? Any questions here?
Swapna, what about else if?
That's what I have said.
Then-
There is only one condition, if and else.
If and else. Okay.
Ma'am, we are taking that true attribute, right, in or if. So that value is only the condition is like it's an expression or like we can give anything.
We can give anything. So for example, you wanted to check the particular text value. You can give the text value also. You can give a text value also. Not only the checkbox, if you wanted to verify anything in the text, you can check that.
I mean, in previous example, I didn't understand like that. Why did you take that expression in this condition in place of condition?
Which expression?
That value have taken, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like how it will be relating to this?
Which one you are talking about?
Yes, ma'am. Is true equals to v dot testing. Yes, this one.
What is the output of v dot testing here?
Okay, whether it will be telling yes or no. Let's check.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Because this will give, because this is a Boolean value here, what I'm doing is, basically the output of this is whether it is a true or false. Whether it is true or false. If it is a true, then that means is true equal to true. Is true equal to true. If it is a false, then it has to go to the false condition.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Ma'am,
Yes.
can we use false condition also for if?
Here, this is true is basically it always look at the true condition. If it is a false, for the false, we have a Aura set attribute.
Okay.
Is true is nothing but this will always look at, that means the output of this, if is true equal to true. If this is true, then execute this logic. So is true always has to get the value true.
Okay.
Ma'am, if the value is false and we are giving some else function, right?
Mhm.
What is the output of the else function? We have to write below that Aura set.
If it is a false,
Yeah.
so I'm yet to implement that logic. So just hold on.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but before that, any other question before I move on? Okay, so let's go ahead and implement. So for example, right now, I wanted to implement else condition. So for else condition, what I'm going to do is Aura colon set attribute equal to else. Now, here I wanted to print another text box which says that let's assume that some details. Mobile number. Yeah, phone is already there. Let's take another value. Let's say more details. Okay, if it is a false, then I wanted to display the text as a more details. I wanted to display the text as more details. Okay, so in that case, let's go ahead and refresh. Okay, so quick contact. No, by default, it is displaying the more details because by default checkbox is a false. Now, if I make it true, what happened? It is changing the my text. If I say false, my text is get changed, right? If it is a false, means it is going into the else condition. If it is going in else condition. If it is a true, that means it is going into the if condition. As soon as I say here true, that means it is going into the true condition and executing the true logic here. Executing the true logic. For example, let's take another input here. Assume that here we have a number, enter number. Okay, I'm entering the number. Let's store this into one attribute. Let's say new number. Now for this new number attribute, I'm going to declare it. Aura colon attribute name equal to new number and the type equal to integer. Type equal to, let's say, integer. Tenth line. Okay. So what I'm expecting here is, what I'm doing is I have created one attribute. This attribute is to collect the user input, whatever the user has entered here, the number. Okay. For example, user enters the number here. Let's assume the user has entered the number here, 5. As soon as the user enter 5 number, now I wanted to check here this particular new number equal to 5, then only display the medicine names. Otherwise, display this more details. Is that clear, the requirement? So requirement is I have a component and here one integer enter number. Okay, so as soon as the user enter here the number, now based on the user input here, that means as soon as user enter here some number, first of all, I wanted to store that number into the Aura attribute. I wanted to store that Aura attribute. Aura attribute. And the Aura attribute name that I have given is new number. Okay. So this is the attribute. I have created one attribute to store the value, whatever the user has entered here. I wanted to store it into this attribute. Now, what I wanted to implement further is if new number equal to 5, if user has entered 5, then what I wanted to display is I wanted to display a text box here. One more text box I wanted to display. If it is equal to 5, I wanted to display one text box, which is a medicine names. Else, in case if the user has not entered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 something, else I wanted to print another text box, which is a more details, I wanted to print this another text box here, which is a more details, right? So this is the logic which I'm going to implement right now. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So for example, so what I'll do is I'll write another Aura if here, Aura colon, if is true equal to in double quotes. Now here I have written just V testing, curly braces, exclamation, V dot testing. I have given this because the output of this value is true or false. It's a Boolean value. But in our current requirement, whatever the new number is there, it's not a Boolean value. It's an integer. I need to check what is the output of this new number. I wanted to check what is the output of this new number. So how we will do it? Curly braces, exclamation, V dot new number equal to 5. If it is a 5, then I wanted to display another input text. Let's assume enter. More details. Enter second number. Let's add paragraph here. Okay. Right. If my value equal to 5, now I wanted to display another text box here, which is displaying the enter second number. Now let me go back to the Lightning. Refresh this one.
What about that value?
Value.
Value attribute.
Where is the value attribute?
Here. Yes.
Right now we are not storing it, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
So right now enter number. Okay, so here I have a more details, phone number, email, enter last name, enter first name. As soon as I enter 5, what happened? Nothing is happening. Now I moved it. It's not showing any information. It's not showing any details. Now why this logic is not working? Why this logic is not working? Enter second number is not displaying. What is the issue? If I enter 2, it's not displaying anything because it should not be displaying. But here, if I enter 5, enter 5, what is happening? I have a new number equal to 5. How can we test this? What is the value of outcome is coming?
Maybe we have
Ma'am,
equal to outside, because inside curly braces we have to use merge field only, right?
yes,
Mhm.
ma'am.
Okay.
The value is the right.
This is fine.
Yes, ma'am.
I think
What happened here? What it is saying that you have to use curly braces exclamation and the attribute name, and whatever you want the value should be inside. Value should be inside.
Ma'am, previously you told that within the curly braces we also took the input, right?
Yes.
That will work.
Yeah, this is the way we have to give it. Okay. Now the first question is the value, this attribute, am I getting the output of this attribute? That is the first question. Am I getting the output of this one? So let's refresh the page. With contact. So enter 5. 5 number, I'm getting it. But why I'm not getting the second number? As soon as I enter 5, it is giving me the 5. Right? It is giving me the 5. So 5 equal to 5. True. So why it is not giving me the output? Why it is not giving the output? What is the issue here? That's assignment. Okay, so let's move on. So is true, we have to give a condition, whatever you wanted to do, equal to, not equal to, whatever you wanted to do it. So everything should be within the curly braces exclamation. You cannot put outside. Okay, so everything, all the conditions should be within the quotation, and then it has to be used. Okay, try that. If it doesn't work, let me know. Now, the second thing, best practices for conditional markup. Why do we use a conditional markup? What is the reason? Why do we need conditional markup best practices here? So the first thing is that Aura if, it helps your component to load faster. For example, you have some 10 fields. You have 10 fields which you don't want to display in the starting of the page. When you do not have much fields on the load of the Lightning component, what will happen? It will immediately load your component. As soon as you select some condition, or as soon as based on the condition, you wanted to show rest of the fields. So what will happen? It renders as soon as you check it. So Aura if condition, it helps your component performance is going to improve. It will help all your component. What are the component you are writing it inside the if condition? It helps to load the faster. So that's the reason if you are implementing a if condition, put all of them inside. If you wanted to write a div, put everything into the div. Do not write the div condition outside. Do not write if div condition outside. For example, you have a logic. So you are writing some div condition, then within the div condition, you are loading the Aura if, right? In between the div and Aura if, there is no line is there. There is no code between the div and Aura if. And Aura if ends here. Aura colon if ends here. And the div is ending here. Now, if you write like this, what is the point of having the div outer side? If you need a div and you wanted to load certain components, then better use that inside the if condition. So what will happen? Your component, whatever the load is there, your component load is going to reduce. So put all of them, including the div, lightning card, whatever is there, whatever you are going to put it. So everything, place it here. The reason is as soon as it hits the condition, as soon as it satisfies the condition, right? Immediately it renders the value that is there inside this. If this is true, then it will load this complete component. It will render it. If it is not true, then it will unload it. So loading, unloading happens very quickly. So whatever the logic you are writing it, so don't write the half of the logic inside the Aura if and half of the logic or outside of the if. For example, you have some styling that you wanted to apply for the if condition. So what you will do, you put a div outside and apply the styling. Why do we need that div outside and applying the styling? We don't need it. Only I need if the condition is true, then I wanted to apply the styling. So in that case, what you do is better place everything inside the Aura if. So what will happen? As soon as the component is true, the is true expression is evaluates true, immediately it will reload or the load the div component. So if the value of the is true expression changes, then evaluates the false, all the components inside the Aura if is going to destroy. It will delete it. Completely it will delete it. It will not appear even cache, nothing, nowhere it is. As soon as the is true condition is false, it will destroy everything that is displaying here. Whatever the condition it is displaying here, everything will be destroyed. And immediately if it is again true, again it will load it. So what will happen? There won't be no burden onto your page. And because of that, your component is so faster. Component is faster. Any questions on this?
I have one question. So like before or if let's say there are few other fields and those fields including the fields which evaluates true. So these fields should be displayed in one div. So
Yes.
in that case, I'll be writing the div outside the if statement, right?
Do you have any logic between the div and Aura if?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, if there is a logic between the div and Aura if, definitely you have to write it. But if there is a no lines between the div and Aura if, and
Okay.
you rather than dividing the piece outside and inside, so what you can do is you can everything keep it in the inside.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, so let's move on. Now, so far what we have done is we have implemented a logic here, input text, right? Everything we have implemented. In order to store the values, we have used the attribute and we are printing the attribute here, which is a dynamic output. Now this everything is happening in the component. Everything is happening in the component. Now, if you wanted to get the value of whatever the inputs are there, for example, enter last name, okay, or enter number. If you wanted to get this value in the controller, if you wanted to get the value in the controller, we need something called component get method. Get method. There is a get method which is implemented by the Salesforce. So behind the get method, the logic is implemented by Salesforce, and we have to just use get method. How to use it? Let's see. So basically, component get method is to capture the attribute value in JavaScript controller. Capture attribute value in JavaScript controller. Now, syntax, how do we write it? Component dot get. Component dot get. So component is whatever the component is there, dot get is the method. Inside the get method, you have to mention the attribute name. which attribute name you wanted to call, which attribute name you wanted to call, right? Which attribute name we wanted to call. So mention that attribute name. Now, in the component, we know how to print attribute. So how we will print it? By using the curly braces, exclamation, and then what we will do? V dot new number, right? So this is how we will print it in the component. Now, how do I write in the controller? Do I need to use curly braces, exclamation? Do I need to use curly braces, exclamation? No, you have to simply mention instead of curly braces, exclamation. What you have to do is, in case in the controller, if you wanted to call the attribute, so just use v dot new number. Instead of curly braces, exclamation, you have to just use the v dot new number. Where do we use it? In the component dot get, inside the get method. Component dot get. Inside the get method, you use v dot attribute name, and at the end there will be always semicolon. This has to be there at the end. This is how we write it. Component is the component. What is the component here? Component is whatever the name here, it is mentioned in the attribute. Right? In the function, we have a parameters that we have discussed last time. 3 parameters. Component, event, helper. What is a component here? Whatever the events that are occurring in the component, if you wanted to capture those information, we use a parameter called component. So that component, this component, both are same. Right? That component, this component, both are same. So component dot get, and mention the whatever the attribute name you wanted to pull the data in controller, mention that name. Any questions? Component dot get method. Now, for example, if here I don't have a component, I have it just called COMP. Because this is a parameter name. This is a parameter name. It doesn't need to be same as what are the component. I just have a comp. Now, how do I declare the get method? Do I need to write a component dot get? Do I need to write component dot get? If I do this, will I be able to get the value? No, you will not be able to get. Because this parameter has to match with this. So if it is here comp, then here also comp dot get. Comp dot get. If it is here, the parameter is CMP, you will have a CMP dot get. Get method is the one which is going to retrieve the data from the component. Attribute data, you are going to get it. But what is the namespace that we have to use it? Look at this function parameter. So what are the function parameter? The first parameter is there. That's the same name, you have to use it here. If it is a component, use the component. If it is a CMP, use CMP. If it is a COMP, use the COMP. Okay, any questions on the component get method?
Ma'am, do some practical so we can get understand that.
Okay, so let's move on. So let me open, let me create a new component. File, new Lightning component. So let's say I'm going to implement LC underscore CMP get. Click on submit. Now what I'm going to implement here. So what I'm going to implement is, I'll just implement 2 text boxes. I'll be having 2 text boxes. Assume that this is the first number. And here this is the second number. Okay. So whatever the user enters, okay, it should be stored into the attribute. So I'll be having a attributes here, which will store the value of whatever the user has entered. Now, here I have a button. This is my button. And this button is, let's assume that calculate button. Calculate button. So as soon as I click on this button, now this everything is a component. I'm implementing everything into the component. Now we have another one which is called as controller. Another one, controller. Now everything, this logic, whatever the user experience, you are able to see here, the input text, everything we are doing in the calculate. We are doing in the component. Okay, so as soon as I click on this, button, what should happen is it should call the controller method. It should call controller method. Assume that here a method which I have is handle calculate. Handle calculate is the method, and here I have a function. And inside the function, assume that I have a 3 parameters: component, event, helper, event, helper. Okay. So as soon as I click on this button, it should call that. It should call that whatever the method is there. Okay. Now after this called, okay, I'm calling this controller. Now what I need is, as soon as it calls the controller, I need whatever the value is entered here. This value that I wanted to capture it here. What is the first name entered by? So what is controller is doing? Controller is going to ask component, what is the user has entered in the first number? So how controller will get? Controller will get here component dot get, and then we'll have a v dot whatever the name, for example, first number. Now, this is the value. Okay, component says that use this get method if you wanted to understand what is the user has entered here. This is my attribute name. So this attribute will give you the output of whatever the user has entered. Now you capture it using the component dot get. Now using the component dot get, I'll get the number. Now component dot get, I have another text. So which is v dot second number. Okay, what is this does? This is basically whatever the user has entered in the second number. That number, if I wanted to capture it here, that number, if I wanted to capture in the controller, I have to use component dot get. Now the communication is happening between the component and controller. As soon as the method is called, right, whatever the logic we have written, that based on that, right now the controller and components are talking together. As soon as it says component dot get, what happens? Okay, component. So that means go to the component. That means go to the component, and get method is there. That means system will understand get method is to retrieve the attribute value. But which attribute? Okay, here it is the mentioned inside the method. So v dot f number. So what it will do? It will go and search for the v dot f number. So is there any f number attribute? Okay, there is a f number attribute. Okay, give me the value of that f number attribute. Okay, I'll give you the output of that. So here is the output. So the communication is happening between that. Who is doing that communication? I'm simply writing the component.get v.f number. But what will happen? Who is doing that? Basically, behind of this logic, is there anything that is written? Yes, there is a logic written behind this get method is written by the Salesforce. Is written by the Salesforce. They might have written 20 lines, 30 lines of code, right? In simple word, they gave us the get method. Now you pass the parameter inside the get method. I will try to look for your component. Where is your attribute? And I'll get the value and pass it to the controller. Clear? Is this requirement is clear?
Ma'am, where is the logic for calculate, ma'am?
Calculate is the button. So on this button, we are calling a method called handle calculate. How do we call the handle calculate method? Basically, we have a one attribute called on click. We have a attribute called on click. So in the component, whenever I'm writing the lightning colon button, that time what I'll do is I'll use the one of the attribute called on click. In on click, I'll say that curly braces exclamation. I'll say that C dot handle calculate. Handle calculate. So whoever is clicking on this button, as soon as the user is clicked on this button, immediately it will fire the on click event. Immediately it will fire on click event. As soon as it fires the on click event, it will try to find out this method. It will try to find out this method. And as soon in the controller, as soon as it finds it, it will go and check what is the logic is written in this particular method.
Okay.
Now let's go ahead and implement the same thing here. Now Aura component, we need a first number and second number. So Aura colon attribute name equal to, let's say F number, type equal to integer. Okay, I need another attribute called second number. Okay, now I have attributes. So what I'll do is, so the first one is attribute declaration. Attribute declaration. And now I'll be declaring the input. So here I'll be writing lightning. Let me place it into the card. So lightning colon card. And inside the card. So what I'll do is lightning
Input.
colon input.
Type equals to text.
Label equal to enter first number. And then value, whatever the user has entered the value, I wanted to store it into the curly braces exclamation v dot
F number.
F number. Now I need another input. This is the second number. Here it is S number. Okay. Perfect. So next what I'll do is I have to implement a button. So what I'll do is I'll place that into the Aura set so that it will be displayed as similar to the what Salesforce has. Attribute equal to actions. Within this, I'll place a lightning button. Lightning colon button, label equal to calculate.
Calculate.
And let's take the brand variant.
Brand.
And then we will use another attribute called on click. On click equal to
Method name.
curly braces exclamation C dot handle.
Calculate.
Ma'am, what is that C there?
C is if you wanted to call either a component or if you wanted to call controller. We always use C. For example, if you want a component, how you give it? If you want a component, if you are calling a component, C colon, right? C colon component name.
Yes,
For
yes,
the
yes.
controller, we use the C dot, the controller name.
So basically, if to call anything, you just need to use C.
Yeah, to call controller, you have to use the C dot. To call the component, you have to use C colon.
Call. Okay.
Now, this is done. Let me use this into the one of the application. Start.app. So we have it, this one. So what I'll do is I'll use the whatever we have implemented, LC, C colon, LC underscore, CMP get. Let's click on preview. So now this is, it's starting from exactly, okay. So what I'll do is on the card level, I'll add some text or some name because it doesn't show anything there. So what I'll do in the lightning card, let me add title equal to calculate number. Let's save this. Okay. Now, if I wanted to use any icon, I can use any icon. For example, let's take this icon, something. Answer. So it is in the utility. It is in the utility icon. So what I'll do is I'll take the icon name. Icon name equal to utility colon answer. Perfect. Okay, so there is some icon it came. Calculate number. Now I need a space here. It is starting exactly from the page. So what I'll do is I'll add a padding. So if you search here, you will be able to find, I need a padding of left side. Okay, so let me use this. So I'm just adding some styling so that it will come in between. Class equal to. So instead of medium, I'll take large. I need left side as well as the right side.
In class spelling.
Class. Okay, so let's refresh. Okay, so the UI is fine. Now what I'll do is I'll enter some number here, 34, 23. Now I'll click on the calculate. When I click on calculate, what is happening? What it is saying, unable to find the action handle calculate on the controller because we have not written anything. It's saying that, okay, you have written on click of this button. There is an event which is firing on, and on click event is firing as soon as you click on this button. On the on click event, you are calling a method. You are calling a method which is called handle calculate. But we are not able to find that method in the controller. So it is asking us to check once again. So we have not written any method here. Now what I'll do, I'll go here. I'll change the name of the same as that. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is component dot get v dot first number. Now, what is going to happen here when I say component dot get? Okay, let's go ahead and see. Refresh. Now 4555. Click on calculate. There is something is happening. Something is happening. When I click on calculate, it's something is running up. If you click on inspect, click on a source, and this is the component. If you see LC, CMP get, here is the one, right? So when you click on this, the value is you are getting component dot get v dot f number. See, it is giving me the 45 here. It's taking the value. It's taking the value. But this is, as a developer, you can understand, right? As a developer, you can understand. After debugging it, you will be able to understand it is capturing the value. The value is passed from component to the controller. The value is passed from component to controller. Now, if I wanted to understand, then I need to debug it here. Or else I need to store, or else I need to display this value somewhere in the console. I need to display the value in console, right? We have a console log here. So in case if I wanted to display here the value, so what we will do in the Lightning, in order to print the value, okay, we use something called console.log. So that what will happen, it will print the value on the console. Whatever the console is there, it will print there. Now, let me give this here. I'm giving the complete component.get. I'm giving the complete component.get. Now let's refresh. Okay, let's clear up the console log. I'm just clearing the console log. So what I did, I have entered the 67 and I have entered 89. Calculate. Okay, we have a breakpoint here. Now here it is, first number. Is it printing? If I change here again, I'm doing this, calculate, printing the first number, right? In the console log, it is printing because we wanted to see what is the, when I click on this calculate, I wanted to check whether the controller is really able to capture the value that is user entered, which is on the component. On the component, I have this input text, I have an attribute, but in the controller, does component is passing the value from the component to the controller. If you wanted to check, or if you wanted to debug, or if you wanted to print in the console log, what we will do is we will use this is called console.log. This is called console.log. In the console.log, what we will do is we will print the value. We will, if you have any question, right? Before that, we have written the component dot get. When we gave the component dot get, okay, as a end users, I was not able to understand. But as a end users, will they able to understand the console log? At least some people able to understand, at least admin able to understand here. Okay, whatever I entered here, the value, if I click on this calculate, it is giving me the value. That means the value is passed to the JavaScript controller. The value is passed to the JavaScript controller. So that means JavaScript is holding the value, whatever user is entering it, JavaScript controller is holding the value. It is getting the value. Right? Any questions? On the component.get. Okay. For example, if I wanted to print the second one, now I'm printing the first number. If I wanted to print the second number, this number, whatever is user entered here, I wanted to print it onto the controller. How can I do it? How to print the second number?
Component.get read.set number.
Read.s number.
Read is number.
Component.get
Component.get
Read.s number.
number.
second number.
Yes.
Now, if I wanted to print this,
Console.log.
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 Second number.
Second number.
And same as get method.
Same as get method, component.get.
Read.s.
So always remember this quotation is as to the text is printing it. After that, put a comma and whatever the value you wanted to print it, give here the information. Now let's say, go here, let's refresh. Clear this console log. Now enter some value here. Okay. Clear this. Calculate. What is happening here? Console. What is the issue here?
Capital C you have used and semicolon.
JavaScript is case sensitive. JavaScript is case sensitive. If I write capital C, it is going to throw me an error. It's a case sensitive. Even if I change this capital F, it does not work. It has to be always whatever the console.log is declared, it has to be same. And if you are giving the attribute name, it has to be same as whatever is there in the component. Now here I'm giving some number, click on calculate. First number, same as it is giving, second number as it is giving. Till this point, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, till now, what we have done is we are getting the value from the component to controller. We are getting the value from the component to controller. Let's suppose I wanted to set the value in the controller. And once it is set, then I wanted to pass this controller to the component. So far, what we have done, we have set it in the component and the controller, we are accessing the value. Now I wanted to set it in the controller. I wanted to set in the controller and pass it to the component. Pass it to the component. If I want to set any attribute in the controller, if I want to set any attribute in the controller, what we have to use is, we have to use the component set method. To set value in attribute in JavaScript controller, syntax is component.set And what are the attribute name is there? The attribute comma value. Comma value. Right, set is used to set the value for the attribute. In set method, we have a two parameters. One is the attribute name. Second parameter is value. Second parameter is value. For example, you wanted to set the another attribute. You wanted to set another attribute. So let's declare another attribute called result. Aura colon attribute name equal to result, and then type equal to, let's take the type also integer. Okay. Now if I wanted to set the result here, okay. So what I'll do component dot set, and I'll use the attribute v dot result. Let's assume that I am setting some value here. Let's say. Okay, so let's print the value here. Let's print it on top in the lightning card. The result is curly braces exclamation v dot result. Now let's go back to our page. Refresh. Okay. So now I have entered some value. And click on calculate. Right? Whatever I gave the hard-coded value, the same hard-coded value it is coming. Whatever I gave, the same hard-coded value it is coming. Right? The first number, second number is this is, and the result is whatever the value that I'm setting it. Whatever the value that I'm setting in the controller, 353453. So that's the same value. It is passed to the component. Component is printing the value here. Component is printing the value here. Okay. Any question so far? Controller component.
Here v dot result is attribute name, no? V dot result.
V dot is the attribute name.
V dot result.
V dot result is also attribute. We have created the attribute called result.
Okay.
We can't create the attribute in controller itself, right?
No. I mean, you can create it. There is a different way of creation. But if you want, the component also need to handle the attribute. Then you have to declare the attribute in the component and utilize it. Now, there is a way to declare the variable in the JavaScript is a different. Now, let's assume that I have this volume. I have this, I'm getting it. Now, I wanted to store this information somewhere. So basically, right now, I have a first number, second number. So in the result, what I wanted to do is, I wanted to sum up them like a first number plus second number. And what are the output is there? I wanted to store it into the v dot result. I wanted to store it in some variable. First, I need to store it in the v result, res, let's say v res. And this v res output, whatever is there, I wanted to give it here. I wanted to give it here. Now, if you wanted to sum whatever the value is there here and whatever the value is entered in the S number, basically these two are input, right? These two are the input. And what are the number is given here? What are the number is given here? I wanted to capture them. Then finally, I need to sum. I need to sum those values. Now, how do I do that? Let's simply just think on it. I'm getting this value. I wanted to store this value in, assume that, let's say F1. I wanted to store the value in F1. Get the value and store it here. Get the value, store it in F1. Now, how do we do it in the JavaScript? So in the JavaScript, so we have something called JavaScript variables. We have JavaScript variables. So there are different ways where we can declare a JavaScript variables in Aura component. In Aura component, we can declare it. One way is using the var, and second one is using the let, and the third one is using the const. Generally, how you declare it, if you go to any OOPS concept, how you declare a data type and integer, then you will give the name of F number, and then you give the some number here like this, or maybe for the declaration like this, you will do it, right? So that means F number is going to accept only integer. But whereas in JavaScript, we have only three things: var, let, const. It doesn't have a data type specific. There is no data type specific. If you want to declare it, you declare a var F number, or you declare it as a let F number, or you declare it as a const F number. JavaScript does not hold, basically it does not has a data type specific variables are not there. So what it does, var means, var is it holds the string, it holds the number, it holds the float, any value you give it to that, it will hold everything. You need not to specifically write here int, decimal, float, boolean, you need not to write this. You need not to write anything. If you say var and the variable name, that means whatever the value that we are assigning to the variable, var is going to hold everything. This var is going to hold everything, whatever is there. Next. So var is going to hold all the information, all the basically text, string, number, boolean, or float, decimal, any value you assign it to this F number, it holds it. Similarly, let, const also same. Some developers in Aura, they use var. Some developers use let. Some developers use const. Now, why we have a three different things? But before that, here, what is the variable here? What is the variable? JavaScript variable. What is the variable here?
Var let
const.
So in general term, variable is nothing but a which stores the value. So how we are storing it? Using the var let const. In JavaScript, we are storing the value using the var, using the let, using the const. So example, var x equal to 5, var y equal to 6, and again the result, var z equal to x plus y. So you can do anything. Instead of var, if you wanted to use, you can use the let. But what is the difference between if I use a var and if I use a let, if I use a const? What is the difference is that? Basically, why some developers use var, why some developers use let, why some developers use const. So the reason is, see, always we declare the JavaScript variable var, let, const. Either one you can use it. But if you use the var, so var keyword is used in all JavaScript code from 1995 to till now. So that means JavaScript, when it is introduced about the declaring the variables, it started with keyword called var. They used to use var. So the first variable declaration is they introduced as a var. Later, they introduced a let. They introduced let and const keyword. When it is added in 2015. JavaScript 2015, they introduced let and const keyword. Before that, we were having only one keyword called var. So why they have introduced let and const? Because in 2015, that time there is a new HTML came into the picture, new web browsers came into the picture. That is the same time when HTML is upgraded to HTML 5.0. And at the same time, the Salesforce has released the Lightning, right? So these everything came into that in order to support the latest browser. In order to support the latest browser, we have to use let or const keyword. So if you need an older browser, there are some clients who are still using the older browser and they want the Lightning Aura to be suitable. In case if you wanted to support your code to the older browser, then use the var keyword. Use the var keyword. Const is nothing but it's a general rule. So basically, if you have a constant value or if you can use it anytime. There is no rule for the when to use the const. But if you want a latest browser, if you want to support all of them, then better use the const and let. Let, when do we use it? If you know that there is a value is going to change for the variable. For example, right now let x equal to 5 and later x value is going to change. It's not a constant every time. Right? You know that this value is keep on changing during the execution of the entire flow, then use let. And the second condition is if you are going with the latest browser, and in that case, do not use the var, use the let and const. If you are using the latest JavaScript coding, then use let and const. Don't use the var. In LWC, we use the let const. We don't use var. Right? In Aura, there are some places where we have to use Aura var because we know that I want to use the var condition because Aura has the older JavaScript, and if I wanted to support the older browser, sometimes we can use the var. It doesn't mean that Aura does not support var. No, Aura supports var, Aura supports let, Aura support const. Aura support all three of them. You can use var, const, let. Anything you can use it. But whereas in LWC, only let and const. Don't use the var. Because in LWC, we have a latest JavaScript which we are going to use it. So if you are using the var in LWC, it might work, it might fail as soon as it goes to the production. So do not use in LWC var, but in Aura, you can use any of these three, doesn't matter. Okay. Are we clear on variable, how to use it and when to use this declaration part? Var, const, let.
So that will make no difference if we either use let or const. So like there is no restriction like whether we have to.
Usually in our real time, we use let because we know the values are keep on changing.
That is not depending upon what kind of data we are storing, right?
No, it doesn't depend on what type of data. Basically, it stores all the data types, whether you take a var x equal to 5, var x equal to text, or let x equal to 5, let x equal to string, anything you can define it. So it does not hold the based on the data type. Everything is handled there.
Ma'am, what if we don't know the variable, whether it will be a constant or it will be going to change, then what we need
Better
to use?
use the let.
Okay.
Clear? Okay. Now, how do we declare? What are the rules? When we are declaring the variable, when we are defining the variable in JavaScript, what is the rules? So whenever you are declaring the variable name, it must be unique name. All the variable names should be unique. Similarly, how we do in the normal Apex, like when we declare integer x equal to 5, I cannot use integer x equal to 20 again, right? That's a duplicate. So similarly in JavaScript, when we are declaring the variable, it must be unique. And that what are the unique name is called? It's called a identifiers. And JavaScript, when we are declaring the JavaScript variable, it holds all the information. It might hold the number, it might hold the text, whether you are giving a number 100, whether you are giving some names to the var x equal to John Doyle. It holds the text also. It holds the float, decimal, boolean, anything, what are the data type you are giving, you are assigning to the variable, it holds everything. And the default JavaScript. The default JavaScript variable taken value as a string. That means, though you are giving 100, var x equal to 100, by default, it will take the 100 as a string. It will not take that as a number. We have some concept, we will see that. But by default variable, it takes in the Aura, it takes it as a string. Now, name can contain the letters, digits, underscores, dollar sign, anything you can give it. And name must be begin with letter, which has to be smaller letter. Name can also begin with a dollar and underscore. This is as per the JavaScript rule. But in Lightning, in Salesforce, we do not write a name starting with a dollar or underscore. In Salesforce, we are not going to support that. But in JavaScript, naming rule is they can start using the dollar underscore. But we don't support it as per the Salesforce coding styling. Names are case sensitive. If you write a small y instead of a capital Y, or if you write instead of capital Y, if you write a small y, then that is a different. It doesn't work. It thinks that is a new variable. And reserved keywords. There are some keywords. Reserved keywords is nothing but some keywords, error keyword. Okay, there are reserved keywords are there. When I give that error, automatically system will identify that is error is throwing. So some keywords which are reserved for the JavaScript keywords, if you use those as a variable, then it won't work. For example, test, T-E-S-T, test. So sometimes what happens is if you use a test, then it might not work. Maybe there is some value for this test. Or if you say some reserved keywords is like an error. So error is a reserved keyword in the JavaScript, which will hold some value for this. If you use those values as a variable, it won't work. Even in Salesforce also, it won't work. So whenever we are declaring the JavaScript in Salesforce, it has to apply, only start with letter, which is a small letter, and underscore dollar sign works, but better start with the letters. So first and two will be applicable, and the third and fourth. So this one, whatever you are seeing here, This one doesn't applicable for the Salesforce. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how to declare this. Now, component.get. Component.get is to retrieve the value, whatever the attribute is holding the value. If I wanted to bring that value to the controller, I use the component.get. Inside that, we will mention the attribute here. Now, whatever the value is there here in this, I wanted to store it into the F1. So what I'll do, var F1. I'll simply say var F1. Now, similarly, I wanted to store S number. So what I'll do, var S1 equal to. Perfect. So I'm storing the value into what are the values that I'm getting it. I'm storing here F1. Right? So now, instead of printing the component.get, what I'll do is I'll print the var variable. I'll print var variable F1 S1. I just declared a variable here var F1 equal to component.get. That means whatever the value it is holding this, assign it to F1. That means finally this F1 is going to store the value. F1 is going to store the value. Clear? Simple. There is nothing much. I'm not doing anything here. Clear? I'm storing into one of the variable called F1 S1, and where instead of a data type, I'm giving here var. Now let me show you the output. Refresh. Clear this console log. Now, what is the value? VRES is not defined. I'm using here VRES. Let's give some number. Now let's refresh. Now I'm getting the first number, second number below. So here I'll give 5, 56, 78. Clean this, click on calculate. I'm getting the first number, second number. That means what is happening here? It's basically, it is saying that var F1 equal to 75. This is what is happening. And here var S1 equal to some value 54. It is assigning it. It's similar like how we used to do int F1 equal to 75. Int S1 equal to 54. Right? Whatever we write by defining the data type, variable name equal to, I'm assigning the value to the variable. Similarly, same thing here, but we are using the, instead of int, long, what are the string, instead of that, we are using the var. Now I can also use the let const, right? I need not to stick this. I can also use let and const. So F1 equal to what are the value that it is holding it is assigning to the F1. Now finally, I'm printing that F1 S1. Printing F1 S1. Now I wanted to add sum of this. Whatever the F number is there, S1 number is there, I wanted to sum up. I wanted to sum up. So for summing up, F1 plus S1. Right? F1 plus S1. Let's go. Refresh. take out this. Okay. Now I'll enter 3 to calculate. What is happening? It's giving me 32. It's giving me 32, but I need 5 because I wanted to sum of the value. What are the first number, second number? I wanted to add plus in between this addition. I need the output of the addition, but what it is doing the concatenation. It is doing the concatenation. What is wrong?
It is taking the values as string.
Taking as string.
It is taking the value as string. Now, I need to convert string to the number. Okay, while saving this, while saving here, I need to take this number and this number, I need to convert it. Whatever the number is coming, I need to convert. So how this convert is going to happen? We have a different typecasting in JavaScript. There are different typecasting, which is a type conversion. So as we know that it is taking the string value in order to convert from one data type to another data type. I wanted to convert from the integer to the float. I wanted to convert from the string to number. I wanted to convert Boolean value to the something else, or date time to the number. I wanted to convert date to the number or number to date, right? If I wanted to do all of those, we have a different type conversion. One is converting string to number, another one converting number to string, and then converting dates to number, converting numbers to dates, converting Booleans to the number, and then numbers to Boolean. So these are the different options which we have in the JavaScript. Right now, we are going to focus on converting the string to number. Our focus is only converting the string to number. But if you want any other typecasting, if you wanted to do any other typecasting for the integer to the float, okay, you wanted integer to the float. So what you can do, there is also typecasting. If you wanted to convert the integer to float, you can do that. Now here, converting string to number. To convert, for example, it is taking like this, 3.14. Okay, now I wanted to convert this string to a number, 3.14 number. Now, how can we do it? There are different methods. There are different methods. For the converting in the JavaScript, we have a different methods. There is a by default number method is there. Number method. So within this number method, mention what are the value you wanted to convert. So what it will do, it will convert whatever the number is mentioned here, whatever the string is mentioned in this, it will convert to the number. Not only the number, we have parse float. We have a parse float, F capital here. So what it will do, it will convert the string to the floating point number. So floating point is 3.14. If you have a string, 3.14 string, and you wanted to convert into the 3.14, so use the parse float. And then we have a parse int. We have parse int. Parse int is to convert string to the integer. If you want to return the integer, you can convert it. You can convert. So what I'm going to use is, I'm going to use parse int. You can also use the number. So what I'll do here, instead of this question mark, what I'll do, I'll use parse capital I and T. So parse int, then I'll pass the value. So same thing, I'm going to use it here, parse int. And this is also parse int. Let's see. I have not changed anything here, the result. I just did a typecasting, converting the string to the integer. Just did a typecasting here, right? So once the typecasting is done, let's go to the page, click on refresh. Okay. Now I'll do 3 plus 3, calculate 6. Now if I give 35, 36, it will give 71. Right? If I give 358, 368, right? What it is taking the as a number. The result is keep on changing as you are changing the value here. If I'm entering this 676. What about if I enter text? What will happen? It will take only the one which is there. For example, if I write 370, then I write some text here. It will take only the number from the string. Any questions so far, whatever we have implemented? Again, I'm repeating it. First, we have implemented the attribute, first number, second number, and the result. First number, second number is a user input. User input. Now we have taken the user input here and storing into the integer attribute. I'm storing into the integer attribute. Then I have a button called calculate button. And finally, whatever the output is there, the result, I'm printing the result here. This is the UI. For this, in the controller, when user click on a button, there has to be an event should occur. An event should occur. What is the event that should occur? On click event. On click event should happen. So on clicking on this, it is going to take this method and it will try to find out in the JavaScript controller. As soon as it finds the same method, it will go inside. First, it will check what are the parameters holding here, because it has to know what are the parameters are there, because inside we are writing the component.get. For example, if I give a CMP, then what will happen? We'll see that later. So the first thing is as soon as the on-click event is happening, it will come to this handle calculate. And then it will check what are the parameters that are defined within the function. It will check how many parameters are there. It will take that and it will keep it into the, it stores the information, what are the component or parameters are there. Then it will come to the first line. In the first line, what I'm doing, I'm using the component. What is the component here? Do I have a parameter? Yes, parameter is component. So it is matching. So for this component, there is a get method is written. So this get method has one parameter, which is called as an attribute. Whatever the attribute is mentioned here, it should go to the controller and get me the value of the F number. So it got the F number. Then what I'm doing it, F number is a string. It is not doing the calculation. So it is taking it as a string. Now I understand this is taking it as a string. So what I did is I did a typecasting before storing into the F1. I'm doing the typecasting, parse int. First, I am changing this to the integer, then I am storing into the F1. So now my F1 contains 75, whatever the value is there entered by the user, that value, it contains it as an integer. It contains as an integer. The next one, I'm getting the another value for the another attribute. I'm getting the another value for second attribute, which is called as a second number. So I'm getting the value, then I'm converting it. I'm doing the typecasting. Once I do the typecasting, the value is get changed to the integer. For example, 745. Then it will convert it into the integer. The typecasting is done. Then I'm storing the value into S1. Now, F1 S1 has an integer value. And then I'm doing the sum of what are the F1 S1 value are there. I'm doing the sum and storing into the result. In order to store, I'm using the component dot set method. I'm using the set method. Now for the declaration in the JavaScript, we are using the called var. You can use var, you can use let, you can use const, you can use anything. So everything works here. Now, once this is done, what happened? What are the value that I am entering in the UI? What are the value that I am entering here? It's taking the information as an integer, and then as soon as I click on calculate, it's calculating the sum of it and giving the result. Clear?
I have a question. Hello.
Yeah.
In the controller, why we created the new variables? Like, in the result, we might have directly used the like v dot s1 plus v dot f1, f number plus s number. Why we created f1 and s1?
Okay, you wanted to use v s number plus v dot
number.
f number. Let's go ahead and see. Okay, so let's refresh. For click on calculate. What is happening here? What is the error we got it? V is not defined. First of all, if I wanted to call the data, if I wanted to know what is the attribute data, I cannot use directly v dot attribute name. If I wanted to use it, we have to use component dot get. Now, let's go ahead and use the component dot get, because v is, if I mention v dot attribute name, it won't be able to identify what is the v dot f number. What I'll do is I'll add component dot get. As you mentioned, let's go ahead and add that. Let's say, let's refresh. There is another purpose why we are using the variable. Let's assume that right now we have written the 15 lines of code we have written. In real time, we might write 100 lines of code, right? Instead of everywhere using the component dot get, what is the best way? Store it into some temporary variable and then use it for calculate. What happened here?
It is taking it is that a string.
Concatenation is happening. So it is giving 4 plus 4, 44 it is giving. Always first store the data in variable. This is as per the standard rule. Whatever you are getting it from the component, first store it into one variable. Because sometimes what happens is component dot get, wherever, like for example, 200 lines you have written the code. Whenever you have written the 200 lines of code, everywhere you are doing the component dot get v dot f number. As soon as its system sees the component dot get, what it will do, it will go to the component and get the value. And here is also there, again go to the component, get the value. In every 5 lines, it has a component dot get, component dot get, component dot got, component dot get. So many times you have written. That means how many times the communication is happening here. Frequently happening the communication, but do I need a communication frequently between these two? Every time do I need to touch my component? Better I go one time to component, get whatever the information I needed. I'll collect first time only on the load of the controller. I'll collect all the data and I'll store it in my JavaScript. I don't want to go every time to controller to component, controller to component. If I have a 250 lines or 1000 lines of code is there, or if I have a 10 methods, in each method, right? If I'm writing each method, anyway, we have to write component dot get. But each method, if I'm writing it for the 10 times, first method has a component dot get 10 times, and second method has a 10 times, third method is having the 10 times, fourth method is having 10 times. So how many times the connection is happening here? It frequently it is happening, the connection between these two. There is a events are happening between these two. But do I really need that? Why do I need a load onto it? I don't want to do the load on the component. So better, whenever I'm calling the method, I'll store that in my local variable, and wherever I need to use it, I'll go ahead and use it. In rare scenario, it also happens that if we are doing a frequent call between these two, sometimes we might lose the value here. Sometimes we might lose. In first method, you are getting the value perfectly fine. Second method, you have a 10 get methods. Okay. First two methods were perfectly getting the value of component. And after that, there is some change happened. Maybe some logic is got updated the F number. Okay, so there is some logic here. It updated the F number. Now here also you are doing the component.f number, and here also you are doing the component.f number. What will happen? You will not get the original value of the F number. The value got changed in between the logic. So you will get a new logic. If you want a new logic, if you want a new value, go ahead and do the component.get. But if you wanted to hold whatever the user has entered in my entire flow, I need only that value. Then go ahead and store it into the local variable. Clear? Any questions so far? If you wanted to use the number, you can use the number also here. That doesn't matter. But maintain the casting, maintain whichever the one you are using it, maintain it in the controller. So let's go ahead and see. Here, let me change this. F1 plus S1. Let's save this. Let's go here, refresh. So let's take 4, calculate. Right, it is converting to the number. Okay, so what did we learn today?
Aura if type.
What did we learn today? The first thing is dynamic output in expression.
Aura if
Lightning in
checkbox.
Conditional expression. Aura.
Conditional expression, then
Aura set else.
best practices of the conditional markup.
Get method.
Get method. Set method. JavaScript variables.
Type conversion.
When to use the
How to use JavaScript.
Declaration rules.
Declaration rule.
And typecasting. And then converting the string to
Converting
number.
strings to numbers.
Any questions in this conclusion? Whatever we have learned today. Because these are the basic, which is very important. How to call the attribute value in the controller. These all are very basic one, but very important. Okay. So how to print dynamic output in Aura?
V dot.
Curly braces.
Curly braces, exclamation
Exclamation
V
mark,
dot.
V dot.
attribute name.
Attribute name.
Curly braces exclamation v dot attribute name. How do we implement conditional expression in Aura component?
Aura colon
Aura if is true equal to condition.
if true is equal to.
And else condition?
Aura set
Within-
attribute equal to
within
else.
Aura is true equal to condition, aura set attribute equal to else. Aura set has to be within the if condition. And what is component get method? Example for component get method, where do we declare it? What is
It
first
is
of all,
declare
what is the component get method?
To call the
to get the attribute value in the controller.
Stacking values from the
The
component.
controller.
To get the attribute value in JavaScript. Example for component get method.
Component dot get
component dot get
Get v dot attribute name.
Component dot get v dot attribute.
Attribute
Where do we declare it?
controller.
controller.
JavaScript controller. And the set method, what is the component set method?
set value in control.
What is component set method?
To declare a
Set
value.
value in attribute in control.
To set value in the attribute in JavaScript controller, and that will pass to the component. So in our example, what are we doing the set? Where are we doing the set? Here, result. Component dot set v dot result, comma f1 plus s1. So whatever we are setting the value, we are sending into the component and it is printing the value here. And example for component set method.
Component dot set v dot attribute name.
Attribute, comma, whatever the value is there. We have two parameters for the set method. One is a v dot attribute name and whatever the value you are setting it in the attribute. And where do we declare it?
JavaScript controller.
JavaScript controller. Now, what are different ways to declare a JavaScript variable?
Where let const.
Where let
const.
Aura attribute, Lightning Aura component syntax. How do you write the Aura attribute? How do you declare it?
Aura attribute name type default.
Name type default. Okay, so first homework, implement a Lightning component called LC underscore calculator. So basically you need to have, this is my personal calculator. Use this is a utility icon. Enter first name, enter second number, the sum of the value. And here 4 buttons are there. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. For example, if you have entered the value here, 5, and here you have entered the value of 3. And if you click on the button sub, it should subtract and give me the value of 2. If you do the addition, if you click on the add, then it has to give 8. If you do the multiplication, it has to give the multiplication result. If it is a division, it has to give the division value.
So for this, we are creating multiple methods and assigning these methods with the button, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We have 4 buttons. That means you have 4 methods. Each button click, on click event, you have to call 1 method. So for add, there is a different method, sub different method, mul different method, div different method. Second requirement, implement Lightning component called LC_simple interest. So you know the simple interest, right? PTR by 100. So that means you need to have 3 input fields. One is a principal input field. Second one is a rate input field. And the third one is a time input field. So these 3 are 3 input fields, and the output is whatever the logic is there. As soon as I click on this button, calculate button, it should give me the result, PTR by 100, whatever the output is there, it should give me the result. Any questions in the second requirement? And these are the trial heads. These are the previous trial heads. I guess you guys are doing it. Is anybody completed any trial head? Complete these trial heads. And another assignment which I gave it for the Aura set. Aura set p.number equal to 5. This is another assignment. When we give the 5 in the enter number, why it is not taking this? Why it is not displaying the input text?
Swapna.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is happening because, you know, like we are capturing the attribute as a number, but the input box is text, so it is not taking it as a number. So if you put the 5 in single quote, it will work.
Okay, let's see. So let's go here, click on refresh. Five. Yes. So that's the answer. Okay, any questions, anybody? If there are no questions,
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, this is my first